you. All right, you mentioned the girl, because the Girl Scout is about girls between ages 5 to 17.
Yes.
Why is it important to work with girls within this age bracket?
Well, one of the things I love about the Girl Scouts is the vision overall, which is to help girls lead with courage, confidence, and character to make the world a better place. And I was a Girl Scout from my entire growing up, from second grade through senior in high school. And it was foundational for me, and as an organization helped me have all those things: courage, confidence, character, to pursue interests, or to stay motivated, to be on track for school opportunities or educational opportunities. And I'm grateful for all of those. So this was a wonderful place for me to land career-wise, to give back to an organization and be part of an organization that I know was very important to me. And so at a time where girls aren't always heard, whether in the classroom or in community circles or in places where girls often struggle, this organization gives them a chance to lead with only girls. And it is girl-led, girl decision-making, of course, with guidance from volunteer adults, and less so as girls get older, the adults can step back and girls can make more of their own decisions. Of course, a group of 5-year-old girls that we call daisies need more adult instruction or support. But even at that age, we help girls make decisions about what kinds of activities they want to take part in. Do they want to sell cookies? And if so, how many? And what do they want to spend that money on when they do have the money in their bank account? So we're teaching girls early on, for one, being part of a team. So our girls meet in groups called troops. And so in that, they learn how to include girls in their troop to be part of conversations as well. So they continue to learn. Of course, girls learn in many places, and children learn in many places in school and at home. But this is one more place for girls to learn what it means to be inclusive, to help other people, to get things done in a way that's kind, and kind to each other, kind to animals, kind to the planet. Often it's referred to as a sisterhood. So it gives girls a safe, inclusive place to be their best selves. And I would wish that for any child, of course, and in particular for girls to have this kind of opportunity. Gives them extra in terms of a chance to be a leader, to practice being on a team, to take a project from beginning to end. And I love, back in the day, in my day, we only were able to start at age 7. And so now that girls can start at age 5, it gives them even earlier opportunity. And then much of our focus is kindergarten through 3rd grade, because we also know that that's a foundational time in a girl's life, in a child's life, when they're learning and trying to figure out who they are. And that happens very early on in a child's life. And so the Girl Scouts try to give girls opportunities at those times to figure out what they're interested in, what they like to do. One of the first questions I ask a girl when I meet them at an event, and then conversation with parents too, is what is your girl interested in? What does she like to do? And there's a place for girls to do almost anything that they would like to do, and use Girl Scouts as a vehicle to do more of what they love, and find more ways to meet other girls who are interested in the same things that they are.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You mentioned a couple of things. It's very important for a girl to discover who she is, so that she can have the confidence to do whatever she wants to do based on who she discovers she is. And also, during my going through the Girl Scout program, I found out you have something you call the Girl Scout Cookie Program Sales.
Yes.
What is that about?
It's probably the number one thing that people think of when they hear Girl Scouts. So it's a very visible thing. Often you'll see Girl Scouts selling cookies at Publix or Walmart or at a state fair or at some kind of an event. And it's the largest also girl-led fundraising and financial program for girls to learn about money and the importance of money and what does that mean, and what value do we attach to it. So the girls decide as a group, first of all, do they want to sell cookies or not? So it's not required. So right off the bat, the girls decide, are we or aren't we? And some don't. And that's up to the girls in that troop and the leaders of that troop to make those decisions together. And so once they decide to sell cookies, then they decide how many and where they want to sell them and, what their goals are. So it's also a goal setting program. So I think early on, we want girls to learn the financial management side of life. And the goal setting around cookies is the same goal setting that they would make for themselves about maybe they want to try out for a team or a club in school, and that they would set a goal for themselves and do certain steps to reach that goal. So the ultimate isn't about the cookies necessarily, although I do have my very favorite, I will say, some people say it's all about the cookies, but it is the number one most visible thing that I think people think of with Girl Scouts. And then it's that, and it's all of the above. The other ones people automatically go to is crafts and camping. And so cookies, camps, and cookies, crafts, and camping are three important things. And then it's so much more. So in addition to the foundational skills, we also want girls to have opportunities to learn about things in the STEM areas. So that's one of our other big focus areas. And then also the outdoors. And we are always about getting girls outside to be outside and to sleep outside and to be out in the wilderness, or to be at one of our camps and experience that, or to understand more about how everything's connected, that our farmlands and our rivers and our oceans and how everything works together as well. But really, the other things are so important as well. I would say again, the cookies, almost all people, many, I can't say all, can name their favorite cookie flavor. Have you experienced Girl Scout cookies? Do I need to put a box in the mail to you? Afterwards.
I would love to try it.
Okay, I can help you with that. But it is exciting, it's fun. It's, again, a very visible way, and it's another way for troops to fundraise for themselves and then turn that money back into their troop experience. So then they can save their money to go on a really big trip in 2 years, or they can use it to do a smaller trip this year, or decide that they want to purchase some things for the troop. Often they will spend the money on an experience so that they will go somewhere together as a troop. And cookies require a lot of parent involvement as well. So it's not just the girl and the troop, it's also the girl and that girl's parents. So it's all volunteer run. So as much as it's a huge financial experience, it's all done by the girls themselves and the volunteer parents. Sometimes they're called cookie moms, and often they have boxes of cookies stacked in their living rooms as they're using their inventory and getting them out to the Publix and the Walmart and Winn-Dixie and all of that. I'll make sure we'll talk after.
Of course, we can talk about that. All right, that will lead me to the next question. You talk about getting the girls outside so that they can have fun, have a good experience, and also keeping themselves safe during this period. How is COVID-19 affecting all that kind of activities now?
Dramatically. Early on, we decided, and I'm only saying we because we were included in much of the communication. And one of your questions was about, when I was just preparing my mind for this, about communication. But early on, when it looked like things were going to change dramatically, we did it sort of an internal audit, I guess, of who had what equipment so that we could all, when needed, if needed, work from home. My position is, we call it out-based. So this position has always been out-based. So all 9 of us have always been working from home, but we have a headquarters where 40 others work in one place. So very quickly on the logistical side, within about a week, we were able to, some voluntarily, and then eventually everyone working from home. But part of that too was not just the technical or logistical side, is what do we do with all our programs? So our organization thrives on personal interaction, being together in teams and groups, sometimes hundreds at a time. And so everything changed in terms of how we do our programs. Many were canceled or postponed, and then many were completely shifted to be virtual, which by the time we were doing some of them, the girls coming onto our programs were experts at Zoom. Even second graders who would lean forward, mute and unmute themselves, and lean back and raise their hand. And because they were doing that with school for months, by the time we got our programs, the certain ones online virtually, they become experts. And our challenge is to still make it fun and interactive. One of the girls got on the first program that I was doing to give girls like a taster of Girl Scouts. I heard her say, "Oh, Mom, this is just like school," frown. And I was mortified. And then I said, it's not like school, and you're an expert on Zoom. So, forget that. This is just going to be the way we connect and communicate. And this is going to be really fun and active. So we'll make them, think about something, but then go away and get an object and bring it back. Or we have pre-work for them where they make something and then have to show us on the screen, or, to find ways to still make virtual experience interesting, because even though I know you're on the other end, it's still a flat screen. It's not as fun as being together, and we will be together again at some point. And that's, our hope. But I know that internally and then also externally, but we were updated every step of the way. And I went back and just looked at our dates. We canceled things pretty quickly, and in the name of safety, of course. And at one point we said until April 5th, then we'll be good. And then May 10th, May 15th, May 31st, August 1st, and we even canceled summer camps. So that was heartbreaking for the camp staff and all of us, and the girls and the families, of course, as well. But we are fortunate to have extremely strong leadership at the top of our organization. So our CEO would, whenever possible, share with us, and then it would go out to our members and on our website with frequently asked questions, why we're doing what we're doing, updated every step of the way, if not weekly, every other week. And even at times where there was no update, she would say, there's no update, this is still is what we've been doing since June 1. So there was never a question, and we're in this position I have very much frontline to the volunteers and then indirectly to the volunteer moms and parents and families, and then to the girls themselves. But for the most part, we're working with the troop leaders and then a little bit to the parents, but very few questions about what we're doing or what's happening or how things are going to go. Or I just think it speaks to the leadership. Our CEO, Lisa Johnson, and her leadership team at the top of this organization has made a difference, because when we're on board internally, it helps us give the same really clear message then to our volunteers externally. And I've appreciated that. And I think it's made a difference in terms of reassuring and reinforcing that we're still doing the same thing. We're still open. We're still all about girls and their experience and how to support them. I feel like especially now. And we work closely with schools too. So one of the things that we'll be looking to do in the fall is to find ways, so much unknown, we don't even know what that will look like, but in what ways can we support girls, whereas before we might have asked if we could meet with a troop at the school. I don't know if that will be able to happen or not. So instead of asking for things from the school, in what way can we offer something to the school so that maybe there won't be as many opportunities for clubs and sports and things. And so then how can we maybe fill some gaps in terms of what girls can experience in spite of, there's just so much unknown about school. But that's another one of our close partners in the community is school principals, school district. Many of our troop leaders are also teachers. And they've had a stressful last 6 months as well. So looking at ways to support them more. I think that was a roundabout way to answer that question.
Yes, technology. All right. When you were given the answer, you mentioned technology. Some of the girls think this is another form of learning because they are adjusting to technology. Some companies are doing that. Even for me as a teacher, as an instructor, I'm also learning new platforms to teach. It can be a little bit challenging. And the question is, after COVID-19, are we going to go back to fully physical contact and teaching physically, or we just have to adjust to the new normal? Because, for example, I heard somewhere that Twitter, for example, is telling the employees that if they want to work from home, they can work from home and things like that. What is the situation with Girl Scout of Southeast Florida?
I think I can't certainly speak for our leadership, and what I'm understanding is that we will go to some degree, back to what it was. I personally believe that face-to-face connections are the most valuable. That when we're together in a room together, there's conversations that we can have that we can't have when we're two-dimensional on a screen, or when we're on the phone. So I know for us, we've already starting June 1st, started bringing people back to our headquarters in Lake Worth, a few at a time, and then following CDC guidelines in terms of how to be together in a space safely. So that part of it, in terms of what I'm seeing from my viewpoint on the front lines of our org chart here, is that there will be whatever we're going to call normal, but return to how it was beforehand. And then that at some point we'll return to our regular in-person bi-weekly meetings for the team that I'm on. And that's 10 of us right there. So we'll have to wait and see when it's the right time. Meanwhile, we've been able to get everything done and more virtually. So at one point we were meeting every other week in person. During this COVID time, we've been meeting every week virtually. So it's possible when we go back, we'll phase out or phase in, whichever way you want to kind of think about it, but we might continue. It's been really valuable to see each other at least on screen every week. So maybe we'll do a hybrid version. Our troop leaders, many of them have been doing virtual troop meetings. So they get all the girls on the screen, they had an activity to do, and they spend time together, or maybe while they're on the screen together, they do that craft or do the worksheet or work on a badge together. So girls get to earn a little visual aid. Girls earn these little badges to put on a vest or a sash. So it's a tangible kind of reward for them for doing the work. 5 steps, 3 steps of a badge that gets them active and moving. And some of the troop leaders met every other week. And I think some of them are going to decide to meet in person once a month and then virtually every other meeting. So because it's hard for families sometimes to scramble and get, home from school or then put a meal together and try to get to a meeting, that I think there's some people who really enjoy the opportunity to see everyone and also not have to get in the car a half hour early and get home at 8:30 and still have to finish homework and, get to school the next day. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mix of both, because it is an incredible tool to be able to use to stay in touch with people as a secondary sort of booster, ideally, I think, to meeting in person. And I thrive in more in-person environments. So this has been challenging in terms of not being able to meet with my volunteers, not going to their meetings, not seeing the team that I'm, get to be part of in person. So that's been a little challenging. Not long, but it's been a little challenging.
You want to say something? You can continue. All right. So you mentioned something. You talked about attending meetings and things like that. Some people will argue that the meeting attendance is increasing in number based on the fact that people have more opportunities to attend meetings from where they are. All you need to do is to have a laptop, you can log in, and you can be at the meeting. That's what some people are saying. You also mentioned bringing people back, right? Bringing people back to the office. And that would lead me to my next question on reopening the country. Based on the fact that cases are increasing in terms of people that getting tested, and of course, they have been positive. What is your thought on reopening businesses and things like that?
I am glad I'm not at the decision-making level for those things. And because I'm a Girl Scout, I follow all the rules. I'm also from the Midwest in the U.S., which tends to be a rule following, at least for me. I have to. My mom lives here as well, so we're together in our space. So we get to talk a lot about that. She was also my Girl Scout troop leader, so we have a long history of camping and cookie selling, which is a wonderful thing, a real blessing. And so we've been talking about it a lot, and where we keep coming to is to focus on what we can control. And so there's so much information out there. Some of it says the opposite of what the thing we just heard. So to keep trying to find, what's working for us, what's the most safe for us, and then what's the most safe for others. And I do worry that at this time, a piece that's missing is to think about what not only is helpful to keep ourselves safe, but then what other things I feel responsible to whoever is within my vicinity. So in what ways can I behave in a way that doesn't put others at risk? And that's the case. I would use that same approach while I'm driving or while I'm out anywhere where I'm out with other people, that I feel responsible for myself, of course, and then also as to how I'm affecting the safety of others. So it's challenging because then there's information that is given to us about how we're supposed to do that. So I think we keep coming back to, and what can we focus on that we can control? Because there's most of it we can't. So in what ways do we behave in a way that we can control? And then to look at what our priorities are. So my priority is the health of my mom and her safety and my immediate family, and then also myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, then I'm not able to help others, either certainly at home or in this job, which I feel very responsible for hundreds of girls and their families and these volunteers who spend a lot of time and energy trying to make the world a better place as well. So I don't know what's going to happen. I am concerned about the latest information. I'm concerned that it looks like we're sliding backwards a little bit in terms of being able to access public places together safely. And I do get concerned about our borders. So it's so county-based, and our Girl Scout Council, which is a subset of the Girl Scouts of USA. So Girl Scouts of Southeast Florida span all the way from Indian River up north here and Okeechobee, St. Lucie, all the way down to Martin, Palm Beach, and Broward County. So there's a lot of different things happening in Broward County that there are up in Indian River. So although we're county-based, that could be a good thing to make decisions according to what's happening in your local area. But then as a council, how do we make decisions across that big of an area when we're trying to be consistent, but also acknowledge that different things are happening in different areas? We defer to the CDC in terms of guidelines for getting together in person, and in what ways that we can help girls stay safe. The very last thing we would want is for something to happen where we were not paying attention, as to how we've recommended in-person events to take place. So I think we're a microcosm of what other organizations are trying to do in terms of making decisions, whether it's a county government, a local government, a company, a school district. So we're not alone in struggling with the decisions, for sure.
Thank you. At the beginning of your answer, you mentioned something, the Midwest people, rule following and things like that.
Oh.
I've never imagined or understand that. In a while, you're going to say more about that. But in addition to that, we also know that there are some people that are saying that wearing masks and using hand sanitizer is unnecessary because people are actually dying as a result of using a mask. I've seen a lot of videos on that. what do you want to say to those kind of people?
Ooh, hot topic. No comment. No. Right now we are given choice. I think until it's mandated, then someone would still have a choice. So I will choose to do whatever I can to keep myself safe and to keep others safe around me. I understand that the information I have is that wearing a mask protects others from what I might give to someone else. And so I feel responsible for that. And I have enough to think about and worry about, so I'm not going to spend time on who isn't doing the same thing that I'm doing. Right now, my mom and I and my family and what I've been asked to do for my job are where I'm going to stay focused, because those are the things I can control. And I think it's important for people to think about both sides. So taking care of yourself and taking care of others. And we are in a community of people. We do live on this one single planet. And how do we do our very best to maintain the health of our communities? And this is the Girl Scout in me. Our land, our natural resources, in what ways can we do our very best given the tools that we have at the time? So trying to stay non-judgmental is challenging. We all have opinions. We all have things we think are true or things we know are true. And it's hard to figure out the factual line at times. So we just keep sorting out. I tend to listen to experts in the medical field and take guidance from them. I won't name names, but I appreciate this is a medical situation. And so I trust many of those sources in terms of making my own decision about how I'll behave for myself and for others.
Wow. So people who are saying that the doctors are the one killing people by using masks, just don't see anything about it. All right. Another thing that you said, Midwest. What do you mean by Midwest? What was that?
I'm sure it's a generalization. Someone will push back on that. It probably is more my upbringing in terms of my family or my parents and their parents, of what was expected of us to follow rules. Doesn't mean we don't question rules, but I do think there's a bit of a Midwest, and my background is from the Scandinavian countries. So maybe that's part of it. And, I think many people look at their own heritage and their experience and their background as a determining factor, or one of the determining factors as to their personality or why they are the way they are. So me personally, I do attribute it to my growing up experience, which was in the Midwest. And often there is a stereotype of Midwestern, Midwest nice, which can backfire. It's not true for everyone. There's been some not very nice things happening in the Midwest. So no region is exempt from bad behavior, dangerous behavior, unkind things. But for me anyway, I believe that, and partly in the Girl Scouts, we at every meeting say our Girl Scout promise, which is, on my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. And those are just words, but that's pretty powerful in terms of what I pledge to do, or that I will at least try or give effort to be concerned about others in my community. So I'm sure that is another factor. I think all of us have these, lines of experiences or growing up, or whether it's regionally. There's so many layers to why we are. It looks like connection's unstable. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Keep going. It was just a little bit.
I think there's a lot of layers to who we are as people. And for me, it happened to be, I think, growing up in the Midwest, definitely family. And the Girl Scouts are a huge, huge piece of my value system and my belief system as to how I treat others. Not always at perfection. There have been frustrating times. There have been times where I've been angry about what's been happening, terrified and very sad and scared for people and in general, for my friends, for people in my community, and people I don't know, in terms of the unrest and in terms of what's been going on top of the health crisis. So I maybe unfairly label everyone from the Midwest as rule followers, but for me, I know that where I grew up and how I grew up is very much a part of that, and maybe it's having a sense of order. So in what way can we not have chaos? In what way can we find order that allows for everyone to feel included and safe and taken care of and not in danger, not at risk? And is that possible? It's the world peace question. If I were Miss America, that would be my platform. I would go for world peace, Miss Congeniality. But is it possible? Probably not. And then if not, what can I do in my own backyard that creates peace? So I think I'm constantly trying to bring it back in this one conversation with this one person, in this one neighborhood, or in the community that I'm in. In what ways can we create peace or strength or community or connection in a world where in most corners it is not happening the way we would hope it would, the way I would hope it would.
All right, thank you. Now will lead me to my next question. We're talking about Girl Scout. Mm-hmm. Girl Scout is about molding the lives of girls in such a way that the world can become a better place. I have two questions based on that. What does it mean to make the world a better place? And also, how can we encourage people who are not on board that helping a girl child is about making the world a better place? How do you help people to make that connection?
So the first one, what does it look like to make the world better? To default to Girl Scouts, it's people first. So in what ways are people safe? Do all people have their basic needs met? Our council always has ongoing community service projects. So I think a Girl Scout in the ideal world would say that everyone has access to good food. So food, clothing, shelter. Everyone has a place to live and sleep. Everyone has something to cover themselves and to wear, to be able to go into the world, to school, to work. So I think at its core, my better world that I would want Girl Scouts to work on would be, in what ways do we make this world better for the people on our planet? And as girls get older, they can deal with more complicated issues. So when they're younger and they're collecting food and they can measure how many pounds of food they've gathered in order to give to someone else who doesn't have food at the very basic need, what does that look like? And as they grow, then they can deal with more complex issues. So maybe they can help them experiencing homelessness in their community or in their circle, in their neighborhood, or that they're able to progress. And so there is a sense in the Girl Scout world too that we want to give girls increasing responsibility as they go along to make the world a better place. Implicit in girls getting outside is to make our planet a better place. So girls that are learning why recycling matters. Some people think it doesn't matter. I think it matters. How do you reduce the amount of plastic things that you buy? Are our beaches clean? When you go swimming in the ocean, are you swimming in a sea of plastic, or is it clean? And are you aware that you pay attention to the fact that, for me anyway, I get to swim at a clean beach in a clean ocean, and that is not true around the world. So I think helping girls make the world a better place is when they start to learn that it's beyond their own home and school and community and state and country, that we are on one planet together. So when they're outside, that they realize that everything's connected, that the people and planet are connected. There is a piece that Girl Scouts are kind to animals. And so some girls who that's their thing that they care deeply about then get to work with vets who are helping stray animals, who are helping animals that might be abused or hurt, that they get to be involved. And obviously a young girl would be exposed to those issues in a different way than an older girl. So I believe that a better world that Girl Scouts would see is how animals are treated. And, so that's enough. So then if you start breaking down, that's easily 10 years worth of Girl Scouting right there. That's a time of work. And so part of us helping girls have an opportunity to make the world a better place is where in all those issues can you see yourself making the most impact. So that 5-year-old girl who collects food for someone who doesn't have food or enough food, maybe that's where she gets really interested and excited about making a difference. So it's conscious messaging, but in lots of different ways. So how, with the ultimate goal to make the world, which there's one world, we live on this one planet, how do we make this world a better place? And then, so if you go back to all of those, you break down people. So I believe our farmers are struggling right now. So in what ways can we, if I had a Girl Scout troop, I would take them to a farmer's market or a farm stand so they can see food comes from farms. It shows up at Publix, but it doesn't come from Publix. I also love Publix. FYI. So how do we show girls where food comes from originally? And someone had to put those seeds in the ground, and someone tended that, and someone picked those things so it shows up at the farm stand. And I think the closer you can get to where the food comes from, the better learning there is. Those happen to be that's where I plug into things. I do care deeply about all of those things, but in particular, I'm always very appreciative of who grew my lettuce. Like, there's a great quote of shake the hand that feeds you. So if you know the farmer, and it's hard to do in this area, but I had lived in an area at one point where I was buying food from the actual person who grew the actual food. And I never took that for granted in terms of what that meant to be able to do. So I think that the world that we want Girl Scouts to see is, in what ways can they see what's possible? Can they identify a problem and find ways to fix it? And then that tool of problem solving is relatable or applicable to any other areas of their life. So maybe they learn that problem solving and they can fix a friendship that's gone bad, or they can stand up to someone who's bullying in their school, and that it would be the same kind of confidence that they would gain from working on a community service project that they could apply to working on an issue, a more global issue. And why that matters is we need more women leadership in our country, in our companies, in our organizations, in our schools, in our school districts. Is that a fact? I will get back to you after I write the dissertation on that. It's an opinion. I know I'm not alone in that opinion. And girls and women are not represented at a high enough percentage in leadership roles across the board. And Girl Scouts is different. Most of our staff are women, and most of our volunteers are women. There are men that work in our organization, but for the most part, it's a women-run organization. And there are dads that are involved, and brothers that come along, but it is an organization for girls. And we know that when girls are listened to and are able to have a voice and can have a say in decisions, that when they're included, that then they have a better chance to find their passions and find that place where they can make a difference in the world to make it better.
Thank you. The major thing that I picked from your answer is that making the world a better place is about the people and the interaction. You mentioned shaking the hand of the person that is providing the food so that you know that you're actually saying thank you to the person and things like that. And that will lead me to my next question. Based on COVID-19 and everything that is going on, the way we interact with people and view people is changing. The question is, how are we going to return to the normal in a situation whereby you see somebody on the road, you're actually saying hi to them in a very nice way. You're not looking at them as if they're going to infect you and things like that. How do we go back? How do we switch to the normal way of being nice at the grocery stores and saying hi and things like that.
Well, so we'll get the elbow bump, right? So there, okay.
That's what we do.
So
The people do it like this too.
Oh yeah, and fist bump. Yeah, it's right so hard, and we know there's someone at our Publix that we've become friends with, and we hug each other. It's someone that my mom made friends with when she first moved here, and they had this great conversation, and they've stayed connected. And so we're missing that right now. But I think it has been hard to eliminate, for a time, a physical contact or physical connection with someone. I have perfected a little bit of like one of these, hey, how you doing? Like the backwards head tilt of acknowledgement. People can still see our eyes, so you can still smile at someone and make eye contact. It is harder to not see most of someone's face if they are wearing a mask. I think that part's been really hard. So how do we, even within our families, I'm sure it's been hard. I know we've done some distancing with each other during this time, but just because we're family doesn't mean we're immune from possibly being sick or making each other sick. So we kept quite a bit of distance in the beginning. Now we're a little bit more comfortable being in a space together. But I think how to connect when we go back out there, I think we just have to find some different ways. I hope this is temporary. So there will be a time when we will be able to meet again and connect in the ways that we used to. It's just, I believe at this time, this is a time period where we're doing things differently in order to be able to get back to normal or whatever that is. I think there's some of that normal I don't want any part of, and then there's going to be some version of the new normal that everyone talks about that we don't even maybe know what it is yet. I hope we can come out of this on the other side, stronger, better. I wish right now I don't feel like there's a lot of understanding on either side, myself included, in terms of people who aren't behaving in the same ways that I am, or who are behaving in ways that are harmful to others. Hopefully someday we'll get back to saying hello and hugging and actual handshakes.
Handshaking and things like that.
But right now, I think it's implicit that this is temporary time. I pray that is the case.
Mm-hmm. My next question is talking about the origin of COVID-19. Many people will say that COVID-19 is from political issue, from business problem, business game. Some other would say it's just a leadership problem that we had that led to COVID-19. What's your personal thoughts on that? What do you think?
Oh, it's hard to tell. I think it's so complicated. And I think especially because I'm representing the Girl Scouts here, I want to be very careful in expressing a pretty generic opinion. I know that more leadership is better. So I would like to have had more clear guidance and more generalized guidance so that from top to bottom, it was very clear what would be expected. I think in a crisis, and I've had minimal experience through some hurricanes here of being on teams of trying to plan and trying to make sense. The number one thing was communication and updating even when there was no update, and providing, I think I already said it, but consistency across messaging. And I know that the times that has been the case in this crisis, that I've appreciated having more tools to make better decisions for myself and for my family and my community. So I hope that continues. I hope we can keep getting very clear, consistent messaging that has all of our interests, our best interest at hand.
No problem. Thank you. The next question is something that should help the Girl Scout of Southeast Florida. How can people support or donate to Girl Scout of Southeast Florida? How can they do that? In case somebody's willing to support, how can they do that?
Great. A number of ways. The first one is to volunteer and join us and to be part of the organization. And our website is a great place to start. It's gssef.org. So Girl Scouts Southeast Florida.org. And there's a Join Today section for both for a girl and or for a volunteer. And we always need volunteers. So adult members are essential to the well-being of our organization. I checked our numbers too. Our current number is about 5,000 adult volunteers in our council. So we always welcome people to be part of the organization that way. To buy cookies, come time for cookies. So that's in January and February. And that's a great way. Or just find if people have time. It's time, talent, and treasure. So at one point I was a volunteer for the Girl Scouts and helped people who were camping for the first time. So I wasn't able to financially donate at that time, but I was able to give my time or my talent. And I think that's really important too. And these are challenging times as well, financially for many people. So we want to be sure that all help is recognized or acknowledged. If there's a Girl Scout fundraiser out there where they're collecting food or collecting things to give, we have an infant supply drive right now as well. So on our website under community service, both our food drive and our infant supply drive are taking place. So helping out, maybe someone knows a neighbor girl who's a Girl Scout who's working on one of these, or someone in another group that they're part of, support that way. And of course, financially as well, if someone is able to donate in that way, that's a wonderful thing.
Another thing that is also very important to students from schools, like FAU, because you've been there for some time, is doing internship. Internship is also very important.
Yes.
Can students come and do internship there? Are there opportunities for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. We had an intern. I'm just heading into my second year of working with the Girl Scouts. Last year we had an intern in the summer, and again, I don't know what this summer will look like for college students, and I don't know what our internships will look like in terms of being in person or virtual, but we welcome the opportunity for girls to work with us, or young women, college students to work with us, as well as to give them the opportunity. And it's a wonderful two-way street. The times I've had interns through my company or through FAU, or other places I've worked, it's wonderful. It's this great two-way street of learning and giving great opportunity for a college student to have a work experience in a different way where they, might not normally have that opportunity.
Right. What's your final thought on encouraging people to keep working on their goals? Because that's the purpose of these. We don't want people to get discouraged and just give up. We just wanted to wrap up this discussion by encouraging people in your own way. How would you encourage somebody to not give up despite COVID-19 and everything going on?
My number one for me is to always focus on the bigger picture. And I'm very future oriented, so that can be hard at some point because sometimes I lose track of what's happening in the moment, or get too worried about the future because there's so much unknown. So maybe it's not necessarily the future, but the bigger picture. So in the scheme of things, how do I get done what I need to get done, but also be reminded that this will pass. It might take a while, but it will pass, and we will find a way to get back to or create this new way of being together that will be better or more positive. I think focusing on gratitude has been a huge strategy for me. I have a friend that I call almost every morning around 7:30, and we pick up the phone and the first thing we say is grateful. Even if we don't feel it, or we felt like there was nothing to be grateful for that day, guaranteed there is. First of all, I woke up in a place, there's food in the fridge, my mom's here, she's safe, my family's good. I run down the list of all the things. I have a job that I love at a time where many people don't have a job, or who are waiting for the job or waiting to go back to the job. So there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for this job in particular as well, in an organization that cares deeply about us as staff, and that allows us to trickle out to help our volunteers feel the same way. And I think just on, I maybe said it before, but focusing on what I can control. So I can control that I'm going to stand up and get myself together. I'm going to come into this space and start working and make some coffee, like part of the routine of every day. I am grateful to be able to have that as well. But I think for sure the focus on control and the gratitude have gotten me by, and my faith also. So I trust that God's in control of this, as horrible as it is, and as hard as it is for people that I don't know or who have a much bigger struggle than I could ever imagine, that there is something bigger than us as well. And so there's comfort in that for me in terms of how I can think of others. I pray for other people, and I know that gets a bad rap, like thoughts and prayers. I believe it also needs to be action, so I have to do more than just think about things, but or think about people. But in what ways am I picking up the phone and calling the friend that I saw on Facebook was very distressed about something that happened? How do I support someone who's having an experience that I have never had or will never have, and support them in a way, and be an ally and be a connector, be a supporter in a way that also, because I'm a Girl Scout, makes the world a better place.
Wow, that's good. This is a very good place to end the conversation. Thank you for coming and having this discussion with us. Kristin Skarie, I really welcome you to encourage other people to do the same thing so that we can actually have conversations about how to encourage people going on. That's the purpose of this. And I think we've been able to achieve our purpose based on the discussion that we had today. Is there any final thing you want to say before we close?
No, I accept that. I thank you. And I'm so appreciative of this time and the opportunity. I learned a lot and just refreshed myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it was very reaffirming. So I appreciate the conversation and all that you're doing. I wish you well and hope our paths cross again in person soon, and that you stay healthy and stay safe during these very, very difficult times too.
All right. Thank you so much, Kristin Skarie.